Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today I got another quick tip video, and I'm going to be using this Chrysler minivan behind me to showcase this, but this will apply to almost any vehicle out there. And we're going to call this while you're in there. So let's go ahead and get started. Now before we go ahead and begin, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe button down below, go ahead and hit that, and definitely smash that like button because it helps the channel out. With that said, let's go ahead and get started on today's video. So before I show you the example, a lot of you may be wondering, Mike, what do you mean while you're in there? So my definition of while you're in there is, let's say you're doing a big job. Like in the scenario of this minivan, I have to remove the intake manifold to do the oil cooler. When you remove the intake manifold, it actually gives you access to 3 of your cylinders when it comes down to the spark plugs and coils. Now, if your vehicle is getting a major repair and a major component is coming off, if the mechanic ever calls you, if you guys are so lucky to have a mechanic that is looking out for you, and they call you and say, hey, listen, I'm going to be in there. If you want to buy this part, I'll go ahead and throw it in there for you because I already have a majority of it torn apart and it's not going to cost you any labor. Trust me, take advantage of it. That mechanic is there saving you money, because while you're in there, even though it can add up, you know, small things always add up quite a bit. But if you're in there, you're not going to be paying double the labor to do it. Why wouldn't you? And I'm going to show you the best examples on this Chrysler minivan, but this applies to almost any vehicle out there because almost every car out there has a job like this. Now, there is also a point where you can get carried away and say, oh, while I'm in here, do this, while I'm in there, do that. You kind of got to know the fine line. Obviously, some mechanics do this in a good way, and then there's some that just use it to get more labor hours and try to milk more. So you kind of got to be careful and watch out for that. And then there's even some shops that they don't even care. They'll go in there, do a major job, just fix whatever they're supposed to fix, and not ever tell you that you should be doing something else while you're in there, because they're hoping that you will come back and have to pay them again to tear it apart and get to whatever part has failed next, and they'll just be making bank off you. So that's the whole point of this video, is to try to avoid having you pay labor twice when you can do it while you're doing something in there, and obviously not going overboard, because I mean, you can get in trouble really fast with, oh, let me replace this while I'm in there. Trust me, I'm probably the master at this. When I work on my own cars and I'm in a certain area, I'm always, oh, let me just do this and that, and winds up being a situation where I have the whole engine out of the thing and I'm rebuilding it. So true story, by the way. Maybe one day I'll share it with everyone, but anyway, let's go ahead and show you on this car. So we are looking at our engine bay. Now I'm doing an oil cooler that will normally be inside the valley of the engine, and on this particular Chrysler 3.6 liter, the whole intake manifold has to come off, the upper and the lower. And you know, we have quite a bit of work in here. Now, like I mentioned earlier, when you're working on a vehicle like this, and you're taking it down to this level, there's a few things that you can do while you're in here. Now, you could pretty much replace everything from the valley on up. Not necessarily the case that you want to go, but there's a few things that you can do that'll save you money in the long run. Now, me as a mechanic, when this car came in and we knew it had a bad cooler, I called up my customer and I informed them, hey, you got to replace the cooler. As I was informing them of that, I also took a note of the mileage on the car, and I asked them, hey, have you ever done a tune-up on your vehicle, spark plugs? Because, you know, you're kind of at the mileage where you will have to do it soon. And they mentioned that they haven't. So I suggested to them, while I have the intake off, because when the intake is on, these 3 front coil packs are not accessible. I'm like, while I'm in there, if you want to buy the parts, it's not going to cost you any more labor realistically. Now, some may charge a couple tens to remove the coil packs and do it, but I'm already in here. This job is already expensive. I like to look out for people, so normally I'll just do stuff like this while I'm in there. And a lot of you that have shops might say, hey, Mike, you're stupid. You're leaving money on the table. At the end of the day, you can't just think about money. You also got to think about helping people out. I hate it when shops are just adamant about money, money, money. Yes, I can technically charge an extra half hour, let's say, for doing all 6 spark plugs while I'm in there doing this. But, you know, I just don't do that. I don't see the need. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe for your business you have to. But for me, I see it as a courtesy for a customer that I'm going to help out. And, you know, hopefully in the long run, you know, it serves me well and it serves them well. So I'll just leave it at that. But while I have the intake off, I mentioned, hey, we should do the spark plugs. Buy the plugs, we'll throw them in there. And the customer said, oh, hey, you know, okay, not bad. Let's go ahead and do that. Now, this thing is approaching closer to 100,000 mile marker. It's not quite there yet, but it's going to get there. And another thing that mentioned to the vehicle owner was, hey, listen, I have to drain your coolant system out. You're going to be getting a coolant flush because the cooler, you got to drain the coolant system. I even changed the oil on these just in case any coolant gets inside of the oil. Pretty much just, do those two services while I'm in there. And I mentioned to them, hey, listen, these do have a issue with a thermostat constantly going bad. Since I have the coolant drained out, let me go ahead and replace the thermostat. It's actually located right here. And they said, okay, yeah, we can do that. Now, when it comes down to the thermostat, even though it's not while I'm in here, I have the system drained, and it takes about a half hour to replace it. Sorry about that, everyone. The video cut out there. My GoPro got too hot. Kind of a common thing with GoPros. But anyways, like I was saying, for those of you that thought I lost my rocker by not charging labor for the spark plugs, I am charging a half hour labor for the thermostat because it is on a completely separate side. I do have to move some things to get in there. But nonetheless, they don't have to pay twice for a coolant service or, pay the full amount that it normally would cost to replace the thermostat. They get to save some money. And it's one of those while you're in theirs. Now, these scenarios, let's say like the thermostat, that may be, a little bit borderline, people might say, to recommend while I'm in here doing this. And I will agree, it's borderline, but I figure the system is drained, it's the best time to do it. The spark plugs are not. These are, quite mandatory, I guess, when you're at this stage. So me recommending that, I'm not gonna lose a wink of sleep because I'm in there. It makes sense. Why not? Now, things that I really get annoyed by that I've seen is that there's some techs out there that, hey, we're trying to help you while we're in here and we're doing this. We can do spark plugs, we can do a thermostat, and then they go a little bit overboard and say, hey, why not do your valve cover gaskets too? Because we have them off. That's where I kind of draw the line in the sand. If these valve cover gaskets were leaking and we're doing this, yes, let's go ahead, go in and replace it or replace the gaskets. But, big but here, if they're not leaking, I'm not going to sit there and recommend it because that's overreaching. That's where, I'm in there, you're going to save some labor, but you still got to tack on maybe an hour or two of labor for the valve covers. And that's how some mechanics use this practice as a rip-off technique where you're already paying for one thing and they, try to sell you on the nonsense of, well, while I'm in there, let's replace valve cover gaskets. And then while I'm in there, let's say, your knock sensors. While I'm in here at this stage, let's replace this, let's replace that. Because I could look here and probably, mention 5 or 6 different things that I could probably replace while I'm in here, but not all that stuff is crucial. You kind of got to know where to draw the line. I kind of draw the line at when it becomes more than just maintenance work. Like spark plugs are maintenance, thermostat will eventually be a maintenance item because they have life cycles. But when it comes down to recommending to do something that doesn't have a problem just yet or isn't failed, that I wouldn't really go with too much. And that's where a lot of shops, kind of rip people off when it comes to this. But in this scenario, called the customer, we started doing the oil cooler. They went ahead and okayed the spark plugs, and then they okayed the thermostat. Just because they want to be a little bit maintenance free on this car. This thing is approaching its 100,000 miles, not quite there. So they figured if they do all this stuff, just kind of knock it out of the way now, they get to save a few bucks and they don't have to stress out and, bring the car back in the shop and, leave it here for another day or two to take care of the stuff later on. So it's a little bit more versatile for them. And that's how I like to do things. Some people may agree, some people will probably disagree with this, and I get it. It all depends on how you look at it. This is one of those glass half full, glass half empty. Some people will probably be pissed off with this video and say, Mike, no, you should recommend more and try to fix more things that may be a potential issue while you're in there. And some people are going to say, hey, you're crazy. Why are you recommending anything? You're losing out on money. You should just do what they're paying you to do and not go the extra mile. And again, do whatever you want on your time, but this is how I do it here in my shop. Like I said, I'm not here to rip people off. I want to help my customers and anyone that comes through my shop. Obviously, I got to make money. That's how I am able to support myself and my family and be able to do these things, like video cars and make these repair videos for you and be able to, make an earning living wage-wise. And, at the end of the day, I don't do everything for free, but, if I got to take, 10, 15 minutes of my time, why not? Helps the customer out. it'll help me in the long run, and definitely customers do wind up appreciating it. That's how you retain customers, when they see that you're out there looking out for them, not just looking to get them. Because mechanics already have a bad rep. So, I like to switch it up and change that in my customers' minds, because not all mechanics are bad. But anyway, this video is getting pretty long, so I'm just going to wrap it up with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Like always, comment, like, and subscribe, because it definitely helps the channel grow. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I'll catch you on the next video.